Hi, everyone, and happy Friday the 13th. It's so great that we had Friday the 13th during this film festival because it fits in so perfectly. Thanks so much for tuning in to First Glance's 23rd annual film festival. This is our first year as a virtual film festival, and we are grateful to be working in collaboration with itsashort.com, who will be hosting all of the events and screenings online. My name is Nancy Nazari. I'm an LA-based actress, and today I am so excited to be talking with these amazing panelists, these ladies. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us today. Super excited to hear from you. Let's start by having each of you introduce yourselves. How about Brooke, we start with you.
You got it. Happy Friday the 13th. Happy First Glance Philadelphia Film Festival. My hometown. We have a lot of history, so shout out to all my Philly peeps and brotherly love. And I'm Brooke Lewis Bellis, and I am so blessed to be here today with these beautiful women who I have a lot of history with as an OG, and some new women who I can't wait to hopefully work with in the future. I'm an actress, producer, owner of Philly Chick Pictures, an honored Scream Queen, most known in mystery thrillers and some cult horror classics like Slime City Massacre. Shout out to I Murders and Kinky Killers on Showtime and Stars. And I'm grateful to be here.
Wow.
Go ahead, Chloe, how about you?
Hi, my name is Chloe Carroll. I run a short horror film company called Fear Crypt, and I just did my first feature, but I'm pretty new to the game.
Welcome.
Hi, Chloe.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Monique Dupree, also called the original Gata. I am an actress, Scream Queen. I feel honored to be called the Scream Queen. Like Brooke said, have a lot of history with most of these beautiful women right here. I'm most known recently for wrestling. So I made that transition between wrestling and horror. I'm most known for probably my trauma films, and I have 10 children. That's pretty much it.
Woo! Toughest job in the world.
And last but not least.
Yes. Hi, guys. I am Devanny Pinn. I am also an actress in horror. Proudly dubbed a Scream Queen. I love that. I love being in these people's company. So good. It's really, I'm just so excited because I spent some time in the genre. I've watched these women work and do amazing things. And so just to be in a lineup with them is just so cool. I love our genre. I also produce a production company that I run called Jaguar Motion Pictures. We produce independent horror and action features. And I guess I'm known mostly for true crime work. I played Casey Anthony in the ID miniseries Casey Anthony American Murder Mystery, and Susan Atkins in the Charles Manson biopic House of Manson.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much for those awesome introductions. Let's go ahead and start off with questions. So first and foremost, what do you love about the horror genre? And Brooke, should we just go ahead and start with you as again? Okay.
I can talk. Yeah, Miss Vamp, you can talk over here. All right. So for me personally, I love so many things. For one, I should have been a detective. I think in my past life I was a detective. So I love the mystery thrillers, the Brian De Palmas, the Alfred Hitchcock, the Agatha Christie. The great mystery thrillers is what always inspired me to get into the horror genre in that thriller mystery capacity. The other thing I love, and I'm going to stick to the women in horror panel, and I know the theme here, that, again, like Devanny said, and I want to acknowledge all these beautiful, talented, amazing women, the horror community, and I stress there is a community that, albeit it's like separate fraternity and sororities, what I love so much about this community is the support, the camaraderie. Look at us. Like, I did a horror calendar for Scars magazine with Monique 10, 11 years ago. Devanny and I met 11 years ago. Texas Fright, right? Texas Fright Weekend. She came up to me. You remember, Deb? And she was like, Brooke, I'm a fan. And look at this beautiful, all these women who Devanny has far surpassed me as a scream queen and has become this badass producer. Yes. And so, and Chloe, you're newer-ish, and I cannot wait to see your stuff. So we're now cultivating this beautiful community together, all of us, and it is astonishing.
I think she just said the whole thing for everybody. I mean, I don't even know what to add to that. What Brooke said.
Well, let's hold on. Let's expand on that. Not only the community among the people working in it, but the fans. The fans are like the best. Yeah.
Yes.
And I know, they're, and the OGs can attest to this. They're lifelong. They stay with you, just like the community does.
Absolutely. And the thing that I love with what I do is a lot of wrestling fans are horror fans. So to make the transition wasn't hard at all. And they're just like die-hard, dedicated. And I love the camaraderie on the sets of films with, women like you. I love actually being typecast as the bad guy, personally, in horror, because I've never played like a hero or a good guy. I've always been like this killer, this bad guy. And I'm like, I'm like the female Danny Trejo out here. Like, I love it. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yes. Awesome. Anything to add, Chloe or Devanny?
I feel like you guys said it all.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. And to add on to that, is there anything about horror with regards to so Monique, you had mentioned like you like being the bad guy, and is there anything with regards to like props and the gore and the costumes or anything like that? Does that make it different or more fun or anything like that? Yeah.
Definitely. Let me tell you, one of the films that I did that was like a really campy underground horror film. They didn't have a lot of budget, but it took 11 hours to get into makeup.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I'm waiting for somebody else to hire me to sit in a chair for that long. I dare somebody to put me in that because I loved it. I was fine with it. It was the transformation and becoming helped me get into character. You know what I'm saying? Like, as I'm going through the process, and even though I had to drink out of my nose, like they had to literally put a straw up my nostril and put it down into my mouth, so I couldn't eat like for hours. I'm watching people, so that even made me angry. And I'm like, I'm gonna kill somebody on this set, and it just really helped me get into character. But I love makeup effects. I love stuff like that. I love to get gory and nasty. I don't want to look pretty and dolled up. I want to be nasty. I want to be grimy. That's what I love about horror. That's my personal love.
Yes, so much. Yes. I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, actually, because I was on set shooting, and there was a guy doing behind the scenes, and he's brand new to the industry and brand new to horror. And he's like, I looked at your IMDb, and you pretty much only do horror films. Why? And I said, there's no limitations. I said, if you do a drama or a comedy, there's only so much you can generally play. In horror, you could be a character that isn't human. You could do full body prosthetic. You get to kill everybody on set when they're annoying you. It's just like there's so many ways. It's just so awesome, no restrictions. Anything can happen in horror, and it's more fun. More fun.
It is. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. I love it.
You get like the weirdest reactions to horror films too. Like someone's watching it and they're like, "That's really gross." I'm like, "Thank you." That's really
right. Compliment is like, "Yeah, I did it."
Yeah, I love it. And to kind of piggyback off that, do you feel like you approach the subgenres differently, like one type of horror film versus another? And if you do, can you expand upon that at all?
I can start if you want me to. So as an actor, and we are all actors and trained actors, actresses. So I want to make sure that I'm being clear that no matter what genre, what subgenre you're acting in, It is about truth.
Yeah.
Did I just lose you guys?
No.
I blacked out for a second. It's about truth and finding that truth in that moment, in that character. So let's be clear that acting is acting. That being said, and I can speak from my experience for subgenres like, you know, again, I'm most known for mystery thrillers, like an Eye Murders, like a Kinky Killers. And so those films are the mystery genre. It's a bit of a difference in tone, in pacing, and so the choices as an actress are going to be different. If you look at my short film Sprinkles, that is a very dramatic, psychological, mind-f thriller, I would hope that my choices as an actress in that genre are very different, subgenre, are very different from my choices in Crime City Massacre or Dahmer versus Gacy that I've been blessed to act in, that are campy, like Monique was saying, and a bit over the top, but you still want it to be believable. And I just want to say one last thing, that what people tend to diminish is the intelligence and training of the horror genre in general. So
and of scream queens, especially.
Absolutely.
Especially.
But absolutely. If you really watch some of the greats and the old greats in horror, they're brilliant. The script, the subtext, brilliant. Yes. So I challenge anyone to put down the horror genre in that way.
Amen. She answered my question. So I mean, what Brooke said.
Nailed it.
Yes.
And thank you for that. Anything to add before I move on?
I have a question for Chloe to add to, because I do my due diligence, people. Before we come on, we help to create these panels. Like, I do my due diligence. So, and I know, Chloe, we're a bunch of loudmouth scream queens over here. I want to know, because you've recently exploded in this, is it the thriller genre and horror thriller, all these film festivals that what inspires you the most about this genre or subgenres in the horror genre?
So I just like always really loved horror, and I looked into I'm an adrenaline junkie too, so I love like skydiving and all stuff like that. That gets my adrenaline going. And horror movies are the only like type of movie that I feel like you can watch with friends and family and have like a different experience. So like when you watch like dramas and stuff, like you kind of just are invested in the story, but with horror movies you're like holding your husband's hand, or like you're like, oh my god, are they gonna make, like, you're in it with the character, which I really love. And I love that it's just more like reactive. Like I love watching horror movies in the cinema with people who, you know, are like shouting at the screen what they would do, you know.
Yes.
I feel like I'm sweating.
Go in there.
Yeah. And I love that so much. Like I love that experience. I think that's so fun, and I really want to do more horror like that. But I also love thrillers and psychological thrillers that intertwine with horror, because where like you're really into the story. Because some horrors I feel like I feel like horror gets a bad name because you think about horror and you're like, oh, like super gory, super campy, and it's like yeah, that is a genre, but it's not like. I also like films like I can't think of any film now I'm on the spot. Like, but like
French horror, any French?
Yeah. Or like even Gone Girl, I count as a horror film. Like that's so frightening to me.
It really is. It really is. Even though I'm more of a Takashi Miike, I love I'm a huge fan of Takashi Miike. So I love his brand of horror, even though Audition to me was very different from some of the other stuff that he's done. That was like over the top. I wish that I were that girl doing that film. I want to do stuff like that. That was psychological. You know what I'm saying?
They're
and then
trying
at the
to
end
do a remake of it right now. They're trying to do a remake of Audition right now. It's in the queue. So.
Really? Oh my God. I see that's the kind of stuff that I love. And I'm just like, I don't talk about it that much. I don't talk about like my favorites because people always ask you those questions. But Takashi Miike is like one of those people that I adore his work. And Audition was the first film that drew me into him. Just freaking amazing. I was like, what am I watching? What am I watching? And then you get to the end and you're like, what am I watching? Like that kind of thing. Awesome. Amazing.
I love when filmmakers, especially within the horror genre, take you on a ride and drop you exactly where they intended to. And especially when you're in the genre, like you kind of get desensitized a little bit. Like I can start to spot the formula. It's hard to go on that ride. So Audition is a perfect example of someone who knows their craft so well. They knew exactly how to take you and put you right where they wanted to as the audience. And even if you're familiar with horror, you still can go on that ride in that movie. It's incredibly well done.
And it took me on that ride. And to me, From Dusk Till Dawn did it too. I was totally mind blown. I'm like, we started off at one movie and then we ended up in a full blown like vampire horror. Like what the hell just happened type of thing. I love when that happens, especially for us. We're in the business and then you're like, holy crap, I didn't even see that coming. I love that. And I would love to be a part of stuff like that more. I just have to get like more interesting scripts. Right now, I have what I have, and like I love everything that I do, but I haven't really gone to people and gone, hey, I would like to do this type of movie so that I can kind of fall into those types of films. Right now, I'm just like, I just love the genre and just give me. And that's it.
I think it's important though. I think what you just said was really important. I think that we need to speak up more about the kind of content that we want to be a part of, the kind of content as fans we want to see, because that's when we're going to get more of it. And I think, it's very easy to get into a routine in the genre. If you're working a lot, you tend to do a lot of the same kinds of roles. You see a lot of the same kinds of scripts. And, but there are people out there who are really talented and really want to bring fresh ideas and concepts, and more importantly, very meaty roles for actors in the horror genre. And, I think we need to be vocal about, advocating for those.
Right. My brother was talking about that to me recently and was like, you have to start really vetting out like what you want to do and looking for those roles that you really, really want, because I noticed that you fall into this thing. And he's right, because for a while I fell out of horror, meaning I just got so engrossed in wrestling that I forgot for a second where my roots were. And I was like, hey, I miss this so much. I need to go back. And then it just exploded for me. Like I've just been doing film after film. Virtually has given us a newer opportunity for things. And especially me with my green screen and all of that stuff, I've been like challenging myself, filming my own stuff, being my own director, and it feels freaking amazing, actually. So I don't know, a whole new thing.
COVID has helped with that, actually. If anything has been positive about it, it has really made, especially you see this a lot in independent film and really in independent horror, because you have like the really passionate artists in that space, people who have to think outside the box in this new medium. And so I've actually read more scripts that I was really intrigued by in the last 6 months than I have probably in the last few years, because people are having to do things different.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. I just did 5 film projects and I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And wow, I can't believe I'm doing this. And I get to challenge myself as an actress and as a director. And I'm setting up the shots and I'm doing my own wardrobe and I'm doing everything. And I have that freedom because that director, that person is not right there. So I'm like, I get to show them. And if they don't like it, they can say they don't like it, but I can show my vision too, how I interpret what you're saying on that paper. And it could possibly be better. And that's the responses that I've gotten. Like, wow, I didn't think about this. And I'm like, yes, like, it just feels so good,
And then kind of along those lines, what do you ladies feel about this genre that empowers women?
I got this.
Yeah, I was about to say,
I got this one. I'm so girl power. But so let me say this. So I will speak about my own personal experience for a second. So I took a different norm than a lot of horror stars, where you start out in horror and springboard into mainstream, and so I was doing like Tony and Tina's Wedding off Broadway. I was doing a lot of sitcom work on Quintuplets on Fox and the Mafiosa pilot. That when I was young. That being said, and I want the women out there to really hear this, that I was told many times. First of all, I'm short. I'm very naturally voluptuous and curvy. I am not thin, have never been skinny, never will be. I am ethnic. And so I was told more times than I can count through mainstream television and network television that you need to lose 10 pounds, you need to lose 10 pounds, over and over. The horror genre for me, and I kind of fell into it, but I also created it, my opportunity in there with Kinky Killers after Sundance 04 and with Showtime, and I got to act in it with Devanny's husband. So, right? We won't talk about that. But anyway, my point is the horror genre, I feel, embraces and welcomes women and men of all body types, ethnicities. It's like that Betty Page pin-up girl,
Absolutely.
And I am so grateful that I've gotten to cross over and experience this, because it empowers me as a woman, and I hope that it empowers all young girls watching horror films out there, that it doesn't matter quite as much. They're not putting you in a box. You don't have to look like Pinn. That's right. Exactly. Who I love. Right. So we're very grateful for that.
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head, because like I've noticed, even me 210 pounds and me right now at 128 pounds, it didn't really matter. I still got the same amount of roles. I still got the same opportunity. It just really didn't matter. I was bald. I'm wearing a wig. It didn't matter. It was just me. And that feels so good. And that's totally empowering, because it teaches you that you can just like be who you are. You don't have to fall into an image for, the entertainment industry in order to do what it is that you love and what you want to do. That's why I stay in the horror genre so much, because I love that. I love the empowerment. When I start to, kind of teeter-totter over the mainstream, it's like, well, if you did this and if you did that, and, can you cover up this? And, we don't really like your hair, and we don't really da-da-da-da-da. And like, it's just so many things. I was told before that I should get a nose job. I was actually, I said, are you kidding me now? My nose. What's wrong with my nose? It's like, thank you very much. I'll be over here in the horror genre. That's it. Yeah.
A producer told you that? A producer told you that?
A director. It was a long time ago. And also getting into the mainstream. I know we haven't touched on this, but I say what I feel. I had been told, well, if you give me head, I can get you into this sci-fi show and blah, 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 and this, that, or the other. And I was just like, well, I guess I will not be famous today. Thank you very much.
Right.
See you later.
Right.
Bye.
And so kind of moving on to that, which is a really important topic, Monique, that you just touched upon, is with regards to the Me Too movement. I've heard that some sets have created kind of this intimacy standard. And have any of you seen that? And if you have, how has it positively impacted you?
Well, we're dealing with COVID now too, so we haven't been on set as much, I feel. I mean, speaking for myself, I haven't been on set as much. I've been doing mostly virtual stuff. I was recently on a set of The Mick and the Trick with Tom DiNucci, and the only thing that I could really say is that the set was just comfortable. There was no issues. All the women was treated great. Everything was great. It was perfect. It didn't feel like there was any type of issues or what have you. I don't know if he purposely created that environment, because I had never worked with him before, but I would say that set was like one of the greatest experiences that I've had in a long time. And all of the women there, and we played prostitutes that were actually badasses. Yeah. So we were dressed, scantily clad, but we were made to feel uncomfortable. People made sure we were warm, that, we were fed, that like there was never a time on that set where I went, I feel a little uncomfortable, or somebody's like coming on to me, or, anything of that nature. So whether he did it purposefully or not, that was like a great environment. But that was the first time I had been back on set since like COVID. And to me, with COVID, Me Too and all of that stuff really started exploding, especially in the wrestling genre because they had a Me Too thing in the wrestling portion of things as well. But I had no issues. So I can only speak for that one experience thus far. I don't know about the rest of you ladies and how many times you've been on set and how you're made to feel.
I can weigh in on this one. I do nudity as well as I've done sex scenes. I actually surprisingly have shot a lot during COVID. But the good news there is everyone's been like super safe about it, super serious about safety precautions for COVID. So that's good. But one thing I did notice since the Me Too movement, when I would do intimate scenes before, or I would do scenes with nudity or anything that had, even like, just scantily clad or swimsuit work, I had a lot of bad experiences on various sets, all the way from major studio and network stuff, all the way down to, Joe Schmo and his camera. And I can tell you there is a difference now since the Me Too movement. A lot of times before, I would have to speak up about being uncomfortable. I would have to speak up or even put it in my contract about having closed sets, about having breakdowns of the nudity, about having final approval of scenes. And now, since Me Too, a lot more people, especially men, who are producing and directing sequences like that, I don't have to do so much work to make sure those precautions are in place. Now people are coming to me with, am I comfortable? Is this okay? Here's how we're going to break this down. We've hired an intimacy coordinator. Do you want a closed set? There's a lot more double checking and being aware. I don't know if it was an issue if they weren't aware before or maybe they didn't care. But now it is an issue that's on the forefront, and there are different measures that are being put in place to make sure that you feel comfortable. So I've had a great experience since then. The film that I just wrapped a few weeks ago, I actually had a sex scene for the first time in a while, and I was a little bit nervous about it, but they went so above and beyond to make sure my comfort level was there, even knowing that I had done this kind of scenes before, that I was able to just carefree, just totally focus on what I needed to do in my role. And I didn't have to ever come out of it and wonder, like, are they being weird in the background over there? Are they taking pictures? There's nothing like that. And so it was very freeing as a professional to not have to worry about that for the first time in a very long time.
Well, Nancy, can I add something? And I feel very compelled to add this, and everybody knows I speak to young women a lot in speaking engagements. And so I'm very much a proponent for the Me Too movement. I've supported it in many ways. That being said, and I love, Devanny, that you're sharing that I have not been on set this year like Monique with just by choice with COVID and my immune system. That being said, I feel this is really important to say. And for any young women and men watching us today, I just want to reinforce that Me Too movement aside, intimacy coaches on set aside, anyone touches you in the wrong way on set, off set, I don't care. Anyone makes you feel uncomfortable sexually, sex scene or no sex scene, any sexual harassment, you have every right to empower yourself to walk off of that set, to go to the producers, to go to the director, to go to your co-star, to go to anyone and report them. And I don't care if it's union, non-union, I feel so strongly about this. And this is where sometimes I do feel things do get exploited or exploitive in some ways with these movements, is like, I know very well, and again, Chloe, I can't speak for you so much, but I can speak for Monique and Devanny and myself, that anyone harassed us in any way over all these years as Scream Queens, we would have punched them in the face. And I don't condone violence, you guys, but right? But you know what I'm saying? Like, I want young women and young men to know it's okay. Do not be desperate in this industry. I don't care what genre it is. Yes, walk away, lose the role, and have self-respect. End of story.
Exactly. That's exactly why
I want to amplify that real quickly. At the beginning of my career, I had a handful of filmmakers who acted inappropriately, sexually harassed me on the extent. I had some nightmare experiences early in my career, and they flat out told me I would be blacklisted. Let me just tell you, and this is small all the way up to big executives, okay? Let me tell you, every single one of those people who had said that don't work in this business anymore, and I fucking still do. And so do not ever be afraid to lose a role, because people who act right stay around, and anyone who is doing shitty stuff, I mean, Monique, offering you roles for sexual favors, I've gotten it. I've seen other people get it. Those people don't stay around in the long run. Do not be afraid to stand up for yourself. Do not be afraid to pass up.
Unfortunately, though, there are some people, like, I know for a fact, because I see him, you know, somebody that did that to me still works in this business, but I'm still working. And like, he never came out and said you'll be blacklisted, but he alluded to it, like, well, you know, it would be in your best interest, all stuff like that. But
no, it's not. No,
I
it's
will kick
not.
somebody's ass, and excuse my French, but I will kick your ass first before I decide that I'm going to fall into your, you know, what you want me to do. No, that's okay. I'm good. I said, well, I guess I won't be famous. That's
right.
not
Our women here.
Nope.
Hey, Chloe, as a director, how do you feel about this?
Yes.
Yeah, it's I mean, I've had the only experience I did a decent amount of nudity in the last feature film that I did, but it was after Me Too, and I felt totally comfortable. The AD actually came up to me and talked through the scene before, and he was like, you know, like, he was on set the whole time. He was like, anytime you feel uncomfortable, we just stop, we all leave, you know, and then we'll, you know, don't feel like you have to do anything. Like, I had a really good experience, but I didn't do anything with Me Too, so I can't even imagine how awful that would be. Yeah, it makes me so nervous to think that like that happened and stuff. I guess I'm just like innocent in the career yet, because I'm just starting out. But that's
Don't be nervous.
Glad that you have that experience.
Better than ever, right?
But just know to speak out if you ever have to speak out, because I was never afraid to, like, now I know that people are in a position of power, but I knew how to walk away. And that's why I actually walked away from modeling. I used to model before I really got heavily into acting. And between the, oh, you need cocaine, and oh, you need to reduce your boobs, and oh, you need to have sex with me, like all of that stuff, I was like, you know what? This is too much for me. I know how to just go, I'll create my own thing. If I have to, like, I started feeling uncomfortable with photographers because they started really getting kind of, you know, so you know what I did? I started shooting my own stuff, and people keep going, who's taking your photos? Oh, that would be me. I do my own wardrobe. I do my own makeup. I go to my shoot locations. I take my ring lights. I take all my stuff and I shoot myself, because I started feeling uncomfortable. But at the same time, you're not going to stop me from working because you're making me feel uncomfortable. So I think outside the box, and I shot my own stuff till I find somebody that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah,
you have to
I make Brandon, my husband, shoot all of my photos now. All of them. And, you know, there's always a way. That's the thing, is you don't ever have to feel trapped. Ever.
Right.
Shout out to Brandon Slagle. He's an amazing director, so I'm sure he's a good photographer.
He's not, but he learned.
Well, thank you so much.
There's always a way. And what's great about the Me Too movement, and what's great about this, you know, speaking about this right now in this kind of forum, is that girls are coming up like Chloe, don't have to have those experiences, don't have to think they're the only people going through it, don't have to think that they have to endure it because that's the way it is. Now now there's a platform and there's a safe space to feel comfortable about coming forward, to know that you can say it's not all right and be defensive about it. So Chloe, I'm like so in love with the fact that you don't have any experiences to share here. That means that this is working, and I'm so happy about that.
Absolutely.
Less brushing under the rug and much more empowerment. And I loved hearing from all of you. I mean, that information and just not just your experience, but just your confidence and the power that you hold and that you've kept a hold of is wonderful to hear. So thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to move on to a couple of more fun questions. And I can't wait to hear about this from you ladies. What's one of your favorite on-set experiences across the board that you can think of?
Wow, that's big.
Yeah.
I'll go. I know mine. I've had so many, and like these ladies have been so blessed, but one that I'm going to share just because we're doing a Women in Horror panel As a young girl, we all loved and were obsessed with the Candyman franchise, right? And so, yes, Tony, I know we've all had the experience with the incredible Tony Todd. So when we were doing Imers, which I was one of many executive producers and one of the many ensemble leads on, I was playing Agent Lori Romano, and my partner was Agent Washington. And when Robbie Bryan, our amazing director, and I had discussed this, and we were casting, and it took so many years of development, you guys. And so when they told me that they were choosing Tony Todd to play Agent Washington, now, mind you, again, I'm 5 feet tall. Tony's, 6'5", and ginormous, right? And so here I was, holding this lifelong experience of Candyman and being horrified with the mirror and 5 times Candyman. I mean, my high school boyfriend used to do that in the car in the woods, and I'd be scared to death. So now I'm about to act on set with Candyman. I was truly horrified all these years later. However, as we all know and can attest to, the gentle giant Tony Todd, brilliant actor, loving soul.
Yes.
We worked together for a month in New York and New Jersey on I Murders and playing detective partners. And he couldn't have been more loving, lovable. So when I got onto that set and he gave me the biggest bear hug and welcome, it was like a memory I will cherish forever. And then, of course, we segue over to the same set with Lando Calrissian, Billy D. Williams, and amazing Frank Grillo and Gabrielle Anwar. So I feel like I've just had so many great memories, but that's one that for all the horror fans, Tony Todd is an icon and is so filled with love, right?
And he speaks highly of you, just so that you know. He really, truly does. He had asked me if I worked with you and everything, and I was like, no, not yet. I mean, not technically. And he's like, well, you need to do this and you need to do that. He does that brotherly thing that, and he gets in my butt a lot, but he speaks very highly of you. And so that's why I was so honored when you reached out to me. I'm like, it was pretty awesome.
We have history. We all really, again, we have history. So thank you so much for saying that. That means the world to me, because really all I ever want, and I'm probably speaking for all these women here, all I ever want is to do a good job as an actress and to have my, cast and crew feel that about me, to want to work with me again or recommend or whatever. And we know how challenging this industry can be. So thank you so much.
Well, he definitely feels that way about you, because most times when we're sitting there, we get the horror formalities out of the way before we get into talking about other stuff like music and food and stuff like that. And so you're definitely one of those names that that sticks out when we hang out and everything. So just so that you know that.
Yeah. And so thank you so much, Brooke. When I say favorite, that could be a moment that you felt amazing, whether it was a job well done, or you walked off set and was like, I'm freaking amazing, or just either acknowledgement or you finished a stunt scene or something like that. It's so much fun to hear a favorite on-set experience.
That was my newest favorite, I have to say, because I wanted to say something about it. So I've been fighting for so long to be able to do fight scenes, because I'm like, hey, I'm kind of sort of wanting to be a badass, and I would like for you guys to notice me. And so finally, my boyfriend, who works in wrestling, kind of got me this gig where I was on a set of The Mick and the Trick, which starred Peter Green from The Mask and everything else, Richard Klein. I got to work with some greats, some heavy hitters. But my scene, like I said, we actually played hookers that were badasses. And I got to choreograph my fight scene with my ex-husband, who knows that I'm not a violent person, but okay, so I slipped. He knows what I can do, because he's the one that taught me over decades how to be this person to protect myself, right? So the fight choreographer comes over to me and he's like, well, you're the only real wrestler that I have here, so I trust you in whatever you want to do. And I was like, oh, wait, what? I could choreograph my own fight scene? And he's like, yeah. And then he walks away, and I was like, oh my God. That was the best moment ever. So I got to choreograph that fight scene with my ex, and he was just like, no, you're being too light on yourself. I want you to do this and jump up and do this Superman punch and, turn around. And I was like, yes, I felt so good. And then when we showed them what we had, they were like, this is excellent. And then like I threw in this maniacal laugh at the end, and they were just like, all of it is great. And I said, I cannot believe that I helped put together my own first real fight scene. And it was not only accepted, but everybody stood around to watch us do our fight scene, because they're like, there's this wrestler and she's fighting her ex-husband. And so they have this history and all of this. So that was like the greatest experience. And I'm so thankful for Tom DiNucci, like entrusting in me to be able to do that. And I hope that when that film comes out, that even though I'm, older, that people will still look at me and go, hey, I want her to do some fight scenes. I want her to do her own stunts, because that's what I've been waiting for. Like, I work in wrestling, so hello, hire me for some fight scenes. Let me fight. Let me kick some butt. Let me get beat up. Like, let's do this. I love it.
Great. That is awesome. I love that. Chloe, any of you ladies, any other like favorite moments, experiences that you had on set?
So my favorite moment, and it can happen on multiple sets, but is the moment before a character gets sprayed with blood for some reason in a horror movie, and I'm off camera with the spray machine. Waiting for that moment, and you can see like the actress or the actor like getting all tensed up ready for it because they can't be expecting it. And I have like a literal hose of blood, and I'm like, face. Like,
that's so awesome.
I love doing that, and it anything with like really gory special effects, because when you're producing, it's so much time and so much makeup, and like you just have to get this one shot. Normally, like we did a shot with like such extreme stunts, and God, that we had 3 of the same camera set up, shooting all one angle. And we built this big SFX like face to just smash off the wall. It's this really gory like film, and it's smashed, and the actress got like sprayed with blood. And just, I love stuff like you just don't do that in any other genre, but horror, where you're like, oh my God, like even sometimes I like squeal behind the camera. I'm like, oh, this is a bit much, like in a good way. But I love that, and I love that moment when you're just about to, spray someone with blood or like do like a big stunt or effect. This in this one film, this girl, she had like a harness on. She'd been like dragged around the floor, like a paranormal scene. It was like, I love all that stuff. That gets me really excited in the genre. I got way too excited for like 2 minutes.
No, you're supposed to get excited. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing, to feel that. I love that you got excited about that.
Yes. And Devanny, what about you? Anything come to mind?
Her gorgeous face is frozen. Wait, Devanny.
I know, she's frozen right now.
Okay, no worries. My next question is kind of along the same lines, but instead of kind of your favorite experience, it's more about what's one of your craziest experiences. For Monique, you had mentioned that when you were in wardrobe or getting your makeup done, that they put a straw inside, running your nose and outside the other. I mean, anything more like that that's just kind of crazy with regards to like props or gore, costumes, anything like that?
Well, I've had crazy stuff, but like I know you probably weren't talking about this, but I just had this crazy bad thing that I just like, because we have experiences on set. There was this one movie that we did that never came to fruition, where the director just wanted all of the scream queens to do all of these crazy things, like jumping off a side of a cliff with no stunt person, stuff like that. I learned archery just to be able to do my scenes, but like it was just so it was an unhealthy environment, and we were in the middle of filming, and then we couldn't stay in a hotel anymore because they stopped paying for it. Like, that was hella crazy in a bad way. And I just never want anybody to experience some stuff like that. There was a newer scream queen on set at the time, and she was actually gonna jump off the side of that cliff because she didn't want to lose her job. And we all gathered around because we were some OG scream queens. You may have heard about this long time ago, Brooke, because this happened a long time ago with some other scream queens that was on set. And we gathered around her and said, "You are not jumping off this cliff. We are having we have a united front between the scream queens, and we refuse to do anything else until we're protected, until we make sure that our best interests are being watched, because nobody else was watching them. So we watched each other's backs." And that's another thing I love about this genre and the camaraderie that we have, because we didn't know each other very well, but we all got to know each other on set, and we knew what was right and what was wrong, and nobody was for themselves. We were all for one another. So while I hated what happened on set, it was also a love thing, because that's when I learned that we weren't being catty towards one another. We weren't going, well, you do you, I'm gonna do me. We just formed a united front, the 5 of us, and was like, screw you, we're not doing anything else. And the guy accused us of ruining his film because we wouldn't work anymore. But that was the greatest thing, and it was so empowering, and he's not working today. So that's all I got to say about that. We're still working, and he's not working today at all.
Yeah, I love that it was about safety. It was about empowerment. Yes. It was about protecting one another.
And like I said, even though we didn't know each other, we were going to make sure that we were protecting one another. And even though she had hesitation because it was like she was new to filming, we were like, you're not doing this. We're not going to sit here and watch you hurt yourself for this man. Like, no, not at all. And so I loved that, but I hated that somebody actually thought that they could do that to us as women, and it was okay, and actually got angry that we stood up for one another. Like, who does that? Really?
We do.
Yeah.
Queen. I have a fun, crazy story. I have a fun little crazy moment that I'd love to share. So 2 quick things. These are turning into fun stuff. So on the set of Slime City Massacre, for all you horror paranormal activity fans, like paranormal, all the ghost hunter shows out there, anybody watching. Yay! So welcome back, Dev. I'm passing the ball.
Sorry.
So on Slime City Massacre, a lot of people know this. We shot Greg Lamberson's film in the Buffalo Terminal in Buffalo. And I know Devanny's shot in Buffalo a bunch of times too. So in Buffalo, there's the famous, the Buffalo Terminal. It's haunted. It's notoriously haunted. All the ghost hunter shows have filmed there over the many years. So we're doing Slime City Massacre there. And then I got to go back and host a big Halloween event for them a year later. Every single time I'm in this Buffalo Terminal, you see ghosts, you see paranormal lights coming at you. You see weird wind passing you by. I am not making this up. Look it up, Google it. It is so cool. So for all you paranormal fans, best fun haunted experience, Slime City Massacre back in the day. And one other super fun thing that I love, it's I guess a little crazy, but my favorite, I love blood gags. So on VH1 Scream Queens, when I got hired in 2008 back in the day to be the vampire's assistant, Amanda, they did a Drac Studios professional blood gag. I had so much blood, you guys, in my Devanny's in my hair, down to my toes, in my bra. I had to throw out my clothes. It took 7 hair washes to get this hardcore FX, practical effects blood out of my hair. So that was these are crazy fun times. And I'll pass the ball to Devanny.
Yeah, Devanny, the question was, what's your craziest experiences on set? If you could. And Chloe, you too, feel free to throw anything out there.
Probably my craziest thing on set would also be in Buffalo, which we're getting a trend here. I shot a movie. That I also produced called Crossbreed. It's a sci-fi action movie, and I did full body prosthetics on it to play the alien. There's two forms. There's a little tiny like chicky version me, and then it like evolves into this like 6'5" ridiculous man beast kind of an alien. But anyway, so the first half of the movie we were shooting, and I had Vivica Fox and Daniel Baldwin coming in the next day. And Daniel, bless him, I love Daniel Baldwin. He's amazing. He was coming in and was having trouble getting into his hotel. Like there was just issues with login, all kinds of stuff. And so I am like 3/4 the way of an alien running around Buffalo trying to find him wardrobe, trying to get him checked into a hotel. I've got tentacles. I've got like pieces of prosthetics over me. And it's low budget. So I'm really the only producer running this set. So I'm also like half an alien with a whole FX team track behind me. And we were shooting in the Naval War Museum in Buffalo. The naval ships and submarines, they opened them up to us to film inside as the spaceships and the just futuristic space stations. So I'm like in these Civil War ships as a tentacled alien trying to bark orders at this all-male crew. And I'm this tiny little, and Brooke knows this tiny little, Italian chick, like mouthing off, like do all this stuff. Meanwhile, I'm an alien. And then Daniel Baldwin, I had to go help him get into his hotel. And this poor hotel has Daniel Baldwin, who, if you've ever met, is like a character in himself. And then me, this random little alien trying to get, it was like ridiculous. It was absolutely mess. But good news is it all worked out and we shot it and it was fun.
Great film, yeah, shameless plug. I went to the premiere, Crossbreed, rent it. It's so good. She's amazing.
I still haven't seen it.
Oh, you should. In all seriousness, so like also tied in my best experience, which I'll just say really quickly for a second. I'm a huge Vivica Fox fan. I have been for years. I think she's amazing for women. Just an incredible inspiration. And so I wanted to work with her forever. We had the same agent for a little while, and I literally got all my little producer P's and Q's together, and I pitched it to our agent. I was like, please let her be in it. And bless this woman, she was like, okay, I'll do your film. And so we cast her as the president of the United States in this futuristic movie. And unbeknownst to us, it was the first time in history that a Black woman has played the president of the United States. And
oh my God, so that is so awesome.
It made worldwide news, and it was during the 2016 election too. So she was on The View, during the live election coverage, talking about how she had broken this glass ceiling for Black women, having portrayed that in the movie. And I think that's probably going to be the highlight of my entire career forever. It was just this person who's so inspiring that I was able to give her this platform, unknowingly even, just to do this really important thing. And so, she did a movie and isn't embarrassed about it, which is even
it's good.
She is an amazing person. I only got to work with her on Law and Order, and I didn't get to work with her for very long, but like, because I looked so much like her when we were filming Law and Order, we had to reshoot the scenes where I wasn't standing next to her because they were like, I was taller than her, and it was like, okay, you look, I was wearing one of her wigs. Okay, so
I love her.
I was wearing a Vivica Fox wig, and Mario Van Peebles guest directed that episode of Law and Order, and I was just like a featured extra that ended up doing 2 different roles for that show. But like, I got to meet her and talk to her for a second. I was just like, because I love her. She is absolutely amazing. I would like to actually work with her and not like be standing next to her where they go cut. She can't be standing next to her. She has to go over there somewhere because they look too much alike and she's taller than her. So.
She is absolutely incredible. She's a huge champion for women, for independent artists. She's been really supportive of Brandon for casting inclusively and uniquely before. It was kind of cool to do that. So, she's been very vocal about it. She's been very supportive of us as indie filmmakers coming up. And one really more quick, awesome story about her, because I can't rave about her enough. she was only with us for one day. We shot 1 million scenes, and she was so patient with us. And we had these local actors from Buffalo who were shooting the last scene opposite her, and she had to go back. We were late at night, and she had to go back to film on the show she was on. Shoot, I forgot it.
Empire.
Oh.
Empire.
Thank you. Empire. She had to shoot Empire in the morning in Chicago, and so she was taking the red eye out. She finished her scenes, and then we had to flip around and get these local actors just reactions to what she had said. Wouldn't you know, she signed herself out, called up her flight, canceled it, rebooked it for the first one out in the morning on her own dime, just so she could read opposite these local actors so they would not have to read opposite somebody else. And, you know, stress that she was not a selfish actor and that she would stay however long we needed so they could get these shots. She is just beyond, and that sums up everything shooting with her. She was above and beyond in everything. She is just an inspiration and a joy. And Monique, you need to fight to work with her, because I think you will absolutely benefit from it. Like, I would
really love to work with her. And it's hard because, like I said, and I was pregnant at the time, so like it was just an extra role that ended up being 2 extra roles, because I ended up playing a socialite and a truck stop prostitute, because they lost their featured extra, and I used to carry a suitcase full of contact lenses. I would carry like everything, and so I convinced Mario Van Peebles to get me in for that part too, because during break he noticed that I was like super into this, and I was like, well, I'm an actress. This is what I do. Like, sometimes extras come on films, they just want to like be on film, but like I'm watching everything because I'm like, I love this. And I was pregnant at the time, like I said, and that was why like I was a little bit heavier, my face was a little bit fuller, and it was like we kind of mirrored each other, but I was taller. But I just really would love to have the opportunity to work with her in any genre. I don't care. Like, I love comedy too. Yeah. So comedy is my other thing. That's what I thought I was going to be a comedian when I grew up. I actually thought I was, but I'm not funny. So I can't, I can't do that.
Sadly, I have to say that we have to come to a close, and I'm super sad. I love you ladies. Thank you so much for joining, for sharing all of your amazing stories on empowerment and protection of one another, and all of your fun things that happened on set. I just want to give, before we close, I just want to give you each a few seconds to give a quick plug to any social media or upcoming projects that you want to share. So Brooke, why don't we start with you?
I'm just going to shout out to social media. You can go to, brookelewis.com, even though Brooke Lewis Bellis is my website with all my press and media. Check it out. It'll update with everything that we have all going on. Facebook fan page at Brooke Lewis LA, Twitter at Brooke Lewis LA, Instagram at Brooke Lewis LA. Thank you.
Sure. Chloe, how about you?
If you like short horror films, I have my own YouTube channel called Faircrypt, and also website faircrypt.com. If you have a free 10 minutes, please go check it out and let me know your thoughts.
Thanks. Monique, how about you?
You can just, people always misspell it. So if you misspell it, just Google Monique Dupree and all my social media will pop up. But it's The Original Gata, THA Original Gata on Instagram and on Twitter. That's mostly where I am. On my Facebook, it's Monique Gata Dupree. And that's about it. You can find all my other stuff on there, all the other crazy stuff I do, all my wrestling related stuff, houseofhardcore.net. That's one of the promotions that I help to run. So go check that out as well.
Okay, great. Devanny?
I am Devanny Pinn, DEVANNY PINN on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm focused right now on promoting my latest movie, The Dawn. It's a paranormal thriller. It's already been out in the US. I think it just got added to Tubi, so now you can watch it for free. So please go do that. Today's the last day of the South African Horror Fest, where it's currently playing exclusively in South Africa, and then it'll open up to all regions. And I don't know if anyone's in Belarus or Russia, but it comes out in theaters there next week.
Great, thanks.
Awesome.
Once again, I'm Nancy Nazari, and I can be found both on Twitter and Instagram at Nancy Nazari. And to everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us today. Don't miss the rest of the FirstGlance Virtual Film Festival, where we'll be screening so many more great films and hosting so many more fun panels like this one today through the 15th. So hope everyone stays safe, enjoy the rest of the weekend, and bye.
Bye. Thank you, Lynn.
I love you.
Love you guys.
Happy Friday the 13th.